there were a lot of things that they went through and they dealt with to afford us the opportunities that we now have, right? And there is that level of, some of us have attitudes and chips on our shoulders, whatever. But there also is this level of, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made. Right? Like there is that level of, I went through all this crap, so you didn't have to. That's not to say that you won't make mistakes or you won't have to go through crap, but how about you go through some new crap at a different level, right? To pave the way for the generation following you. And I think sometimes that isn't always translated well. And sometimes the younger generation doesn't understand.
Perfect. So I just wanted to literally just tell you, I am so happy and just ecstatic to have you as the first official person, a part of Sexi Conversations, because I just feel like from beginning, you heard me talk about things and say what I wanted and still be operating in another capacity, but still have like this conversation that was just always brewing.
Yes.
And just like to be here and to be here with you. I'm just so grateful. The whole day, I'm just like, I'm about to talk to Dr.Nadia and we're going to have a sexy conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So my eyes are like planted on your flowers back there. You know, I love
Girl, they struggling back there. I need to go get the whole house some fresh ones.
Where do you usually get yours from a certain place all the time, or do you kind of?
I mix it up, but lately, since my child has to have fresh flowers in her room because this is who we're raising, I not a lot of times just grab them from the grocery store, just throw them in shopping cart. Like she's not picky, so she just likes
just need
flowers.
To be real.
Yes, they need to be real flowers. They have to be fresh so she can watch them bloom and all this stuff. So yeah, she needs a refresh. My office clearly needs a refresh. So I need to go get everybody some fresh flowers.
I do too. I literally just threw mine out of whatever container they were in. I had to apologize to them. I was like, I didn't serve y'all the way I know best. I didn't change your water. I didn't snip your stem.
Right.
Oh.
The struggle. Yes.
Man, I love how y'all raised Lyric.
Thank you.
Just the fact that she has certain preferences, just that speaks volume.
It's rough. It is rough. I will tell you, there are times when I'm just like, girl, I just want to take this old school and like just do as I say. Don't ask me no questions. Just get it done. And it's like, give her the space to express herself, ask questions.
Right.
And you find that a lot of times it's not what you think, sometimes it is. I mean, she is a kid, but a lot of times it's just not. And she just processes at a different level. So there are definitely those moments, but we're working on it.
Literally, my mind just continues to get blown when it comes to children because it's the weirdest experience because you want to, the way that they show up, especially when they are mature for their age, and that means different things for different people. But when I say mature for their age, I mean they're able to express themselves. They are in touch with their emotions and their feelings. And when they tell you how they feel, like you should actually believe it, those type of things. And they can think through decisions that are not good decisions and what are good decisions. So when I get so taken aback by how just progressive and in their thinking, but then they act like a child, like they turn around and act like
a complete 7-year-old. Yes. It's
just the most interesting experience because I'm just like, you're having to find ways to hold them to both standards because they know better, but in reality they literally are a child.
Yes. We've had many of those moments. Yesterday, I let her have a mental health day. We just had a really, really busy, jam-packed weekend. We got 2.5 weeks left in school. Like at this point, it really is not that serious.
Right.
And she just woke up and she was just, you could tell. And I was like, I could tell she was a little tired. And so I was like, what's up? I'll ask her most mornings, how do you feel? And she has her thing, thumbs up. She'll put her thumb sideways or she'll give me thumbs down. And yesterday I got this. And I was like, okay, tell me, like what's going on? Why are you not feeling it? She was like, I'm tired. Her throat was sounding her voice was all raspy. And she said she had a tummy ache. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, go to the potty and let's see how you feel after you do that. And so she did. And I was like, you want to go to school? And she was like, no. And I said, okay, you can stay home today. And we'll just let you rest because I know. And then she told me, because like I asked her, I said, well, do you want to take some medicine for your tummy? Like, tell me how bad this tummy ache is. And she was just like, no, I just think I just need to rest. Like, I don't think I need medicine. I just need rest. I was like, okay, well, you just rest. So she just, got her tablet, went to our room. I don't know why our bed is more comfortable than hers. She went to our room. And she just, was chilling out. So I emailed her teacher. And then I CC Toby because he's the pickup parent. And he texted me, he's like, what's going on? Lyric to go to school today. Everything okay. I said, she just needed a mental health day, babe. She's fine. She's fine. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so can I literally just say this is the reason why our topic is just like so prevalent? You have to excuse whatever's trying to come out of me, okay? It
It's
must
okay.
be some wants to be heard. But like the topic of cross-generational relationships and just how important they are, because you are literally like discussing something that I'm not a parent yet. And so these are not things that I'm living in, but I'm living in today's time where I know how relevant and really important, but underestimated a mental health day is. So to actually see you being a parent in real time, practicing these new practices that my mom, I don't remember, I had to fake or act like something was wrong to not go to school, okay?
Girl, and you had to be like on the brink of death to not go. Yeah, it's so funny that you bring this up because I was just talking with my business manager probably yesterday. I think it was yesterday. We meet mostly on Mondays. And one of the things that she helps me keep track of is even some of my family stuff. And she was like, so Mother's Day is Sunday. And I was like, yeah. She was like, Nadia, where are we with the gifts? Right. And I was like, girl, I was like, I know it's there, but I've had so much going on. And even my Mother's Day weekend is going to be fairly busy. And with non-Mother's Day activities. And so I was just like, Lord. So anywho, she was just like, okay, well, give me the list of the mothers that make the list that we need to start looking for gifts. And then she started kind of asking about like, what would they like? And our generation is getting a lot better at self-care. We're kind of that transition generation, but she's asking about my mom and my mother-in-law and my husband's grandmother, who's 101, right? I was like, honey, they don't do self-care. Like, you don't send them no bath bombs, no massage, like they're not doing it.
It's a waste of money.
I was like, and I remember saying, I was like, that generation just wasn't that into it. Like that's just not for many reasons, right? That just was not. And some of it was they weren't afforded the luxury of self-care in the way that we get to practice it today. And so I definitely am working. It's not always easy. I'm gonna tell you, because my husband's like, I don't know why the child ain't gonna go. And I was like, babe, she just needed a minute. She needed a minute. There's a lot going on this weekend. She just needed, it's fine. She's not going to die. She's an excellent student. She's in first grade. Like, seriously, there are no academic standards that she will not overcome by missing a whole one day because she stayed home and watched whatever it was she was watching on her tablet. Like, seriously. So, but it's interesting to just kind of pay attention to how we're raising these generations, and to, like you said, to give them the space. Because a lot of times I catch myself, because I find that my reaction sometimes to my child isn't because she necessarily did anything wrong. It's just that it would be perceived as disrespectful by my elders. So now I am responding out of whatever expectations of people that aren't even in my house. Like my elders, most of my family is back, they don't even live here in the same state with me, right? And so, but I'm like, oh, okay, right. And so then we do have some of those conversations. Like one day I was talking to her, and I know she was just all in her whatever she was watching, technology. Oh, Jesus.
Right.
And it was time to go to school, and I was like, Lyric, and she was, in it. She goes, what? And I was like, oh, girl, And so, I was like, okay, hold on, catch yourself. But then I also leverage those moments as teachable moments, because I'm like, watch how you respond, because it could definitely be taken as a sign of disrespect, especially, when we're like prepare to go to Florida, where you got your elders and you won't necessarily have that grace. So it's like, those moments that we don't always get it right, but we try to take those moments to really educate her, and then also ask her questions and give her those opportunities to just kind of share. But we're doing the best we can with what we have. It's a lot. And I was just talking to Tobe last night. I was just like, how do you balance it, right? Because it's just like, because she was home, but I also needed to work, like, because she was taking a mental health day. I wasn't taking a mental health. I was like, girl, I got work, I got deadlines and stuff. And so it's just that also that, how much is she going to be okay that I'm not spending every waking moment in activity with her in conjunction, because, there is that level of her being able to function on her own that we're also wanting to instill in her. So yeah, motherhood has definitely brought out its very unique challenges. I will say that.
Oh my goodness. Like, and even the points that you bring up, it's so funny, because as different that time is, like every generation, these grand changes take place, but there are so many similarities that are still embedded in each generation. And so, like for you, for instance, the what thing was big in my household.
Big girl.
Big. Because I was raised, like I moved a substantial amount of times. I went to like 10 schools in total. And so all of those different environments, my mom, every time she moved, because I was raised by a single mother, but my dad was in my life just at a distance. But we still, I look like him, I saw him every day.
But reminder, your poor mama.
Okay, that reminder, let me tell you. And even to that point, like looking like a parent, and if your parent has a disdain for the parent that you look like them exercising the self-control enough to not take out their negative emotions on you. I give my mom the honor, the glory, and the praise, because I used to think she was so mean. I used to think all these things about her, which my feelings were valid in the past, just in case she's going to listen to this. My feelings were still valid. We're going to keep that.
Just remember that. They were valid. Thank you.
Okay. I have no idea what just happened, but you know what?
I was like, okay.
We are troubleshooters over here. So
I don't know where we left off.
Well, I was just praising your parenting style, and just like how circular things and time really is. And so like growing up, and things are so learned. It's so weird. Like growing up, in my different schools, there were different cultural influences. And so when, just being transparent and honest, when I was in more like Black, people of color environments, what was like only used for who, what, where, when, why, and how, and it should be in a sentence and only on paper, or if you're reading off of a paper. but you don't direct that to an adult. You just
definitely don't say what. Like that was grounds for all kinds of upheaval.
Being drugged out the grave. I mean, all the things.
Girl.
And yes. I had gotten to a point where I was raised like that, but then as I was going from different schools, and my mom's goal was to get me into better learning environments and things of that nature, the more affluent some of these environments became, and the upraising and the
it's very different.
It is so different. It is so different. And I was still impressionable. Like, of course, when you're raised a certain way, you're instilled with those things, but every day being around for 8 hours a day, being around students who were raised differently, you start taking on some of those qualities. You start to see life a certain way, which is such a gift. But at the same time, you can start doing things that you know better than. And I was one of those kids who picked up what? It wasn't pretty. My auntie heard my mom say, and it wasn't what, like me being, like we're like, what? But my mom would be like, yeah. And I'm like, what? And my aunt was like, you let her talk like that? And I remember,
girl.
I literally remember that singular moment because my mom explained to my aunt, she does not mean it in a rude or disrespectful way. It's something that she picked up, but I know from her tone, basically, that the intention was more out of curiosity opposed to disrespect. So when I reflect on some of these moments now, I'm like, what the heck? My mom was like, what you're doing right now, like you are actually handling the child as an individual and having to shut off like the pressures of your elders, of your culture, of the norms.
Yes,
and knowing,
all
like,
of that.
What's going on in our house? We know what's happening in our house, and we know what's not going to happen.
Yes.
So.
And giving her the space, like it's hard. So hats off to your mama, because I know probably 27 times harder for her back then. You know what I mean? Because I was serious. Some of this is a lot more acceptable. And plus, part of it with parents, when parents become grandparents, they become, a lot softer in many ways.
Yes.
Your grandbabies. Oh, well, we wouldn't have lived to tell the story. But I just, I see the moments of, like you said, allowing her to express herself, pausing myself and just saying, okay, Nadia, ask more questions. Okay, I see you're processing big feelings. Let's talk about it. Do you need a moment? And honoring that, like, I know she's only 7, but raising her in a way where her feelings are honored and she understands that she matters. And it's amazing because it does come back, like you said, full circle. You don't always see it in that moment. And there are days and I'm like, Lord, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing with this child. I just pray. And but then you have those moments. And so there are 2 that I'm thinking of yesterday. So she had moments, and Toby isn't as loose with this whole mental health care there. He's just like, look, you're not dead, girl. Go to school. It should be all right. So, but he was just like, she needs, which is fair, she needs to have some time when she's not on her device, read, do some different things. So she was just in there, I don't know what to do. Then because she's an only, then it's like she's looking at us for entertainment, and I'm like, girl, I got work to do. So I was like, I'm trying to get you in summer camp. I was like, look, give me, so there's just a lot going on in the house. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna prepare dinner. So she was like, well, can I help you cook? Because, I like cooking too. I was like, okay, cool. So we're cooking, and she had her little footstool. And so she's on one side and she put the pot, but the water started to boil. But on the left side is where we're starting to, work with some of the veggies and get some stuff going. And as it was getting hot, I was like, sweets, I need you to move to the other side, because this pot is about to get really hot, and I don't want you reaching over, and you get burned. And she looks at me as she's moving, like, no, whatever. She got it. And she just moved over, and she was just like, thank you for protecting me. And so you have
No,
those
she
moments because you're like, I'm
didn't.
doing all this extra explaining, but I just had to learn as a parent that she's a kid. And the things that are just duh to me, I got nearly 40 years a head start on her, right? And so it was just like, there are often those times where all you have to do, and I say all really loose because I know it's not easy, right? Is pause and just explain. But we weren't raised where there was a whole lot of explanation given to you as a child. You just took the order and you did what you will with it. And we are, we don't always have those moments, but it's definitely something that you see. And then like this morning,
ooh, the eyebrow, what happened?
girl, because she was, I don't understand. It's the same thing every morning. You get up, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you wear a uniform, right? Make up your bed. Like, it's just not that hard. Put on your deodorant, find your shoes, let's go. We should be out the house. And not my child. So we get part of the way done. We get the teeth brushed. I don't know why she bypasses her own bathroom to come to my bathroom to brush her teeth, but whatever. So we're headed back to her room. She decides she wants to stop at her activity table and stack her jars of slime. Man. But with this stacking has now gone on for I don't know how many minutes. And at first I was like, Nadia, don't say anything. Because we have time. It wasn't like we were running late. We had time, right? But on the inside, I was losing it. I was just like, girl, This is not what you're supposed to be doing right now. And so I'm just like, don't say anything. Don't say anything, Nadia. So I got her water bottle together, her backpack, her badge. We all set so we can just grab all this stuff, run out the door when you finally get your life together over here. Ayanna, I couldn't take it. I lied to myself. I said her full name, Lyric. Girl, I was like, she stopped. And I said,
that's real.
Right. I was like, what exactly should you be doing right now? And she looked at me and then she processed with all her tude, which she probably gets from me. So I was like looking in the mirror, right? Like, oh, Jesus. And then she walks to her room and she closes the door. I was like, okay, I'm not going back there. You know what you're supposed to do. So a couple minutes passed. She comes out the room, but she's still in pajamas. Lyric, what are you doing? And she came up to me and she gave me a hug and she was like, I'm sorry.
She was processing. Oh.
The rest of the morning was fine. I gave her a hug. I was like, it's okay. I just asked her, did you make up your bed? She was like, yep. And she went back to her room, got her stuff together, got dressed, figured out what shoes she wanted to wear today. And so it's those moments, right? Like we didn't have to go full, World War III, smack down. It was just like those moments of give her space. I didn't run in the room behind her. Like, why you rolled your girl? She's fine. She had her moment. She came back. She apologized. We good. It's water under the bridge. Let's go to school. So,
but you know what you did? Like what I heard is that you actually asked her a question. Like you weren't sending daggers. You weren't telling her this is what you're not gonna do or this is what I'm talking about. You always do this. You know how it feels and what it sounds like when it comes out your mouth, because sometimes you'd be like, oh, I should never said that.
Oh, yes.
But you literally asked her and allowed her to be introspective, and arrive at the destination of what should I be doing right now? I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and then she thought about it further and came out and was humble.
Right.
But
I will add, we model that for her. So there are days when I'm tired, I'm, whatever. And like you said, I say stuff, I snap, I'm distracted, whatever. And I apologize. I'm like, I'm not, just because I'm the adult doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. Doesn't mean that I always get it right. So I owe you an apology. And I will often pause and kind of, explain because my faces. So apparently I don't smile enough according to my child. And so I was just like, I'm not angry because a lot of times she thinks I'm upset or I'm bothered or I'm agitated with her. And that was the thing that we literally had to have a conversation about one morning because I was I remember I needed to go to the Social Security office. So after our adoption was completed, there were things I needed to get done. And my mother-in-law was on me. Toby was out of town. And I was like, let me get all this paperwork. Because after I dropped her off, I had an out of the office, out of home meeting. It was in person. And I was like, I'm going straight to the Social Security office to get this taken care of. Right. So my brain is like, get all the stuff so you don't have to come back. So I was looking, I think probably for like our marriage license, something that's not just whatever. So but my brain is focused, right? I'm focused on, I need to get this so I can have everything in my little folder. So I'm fully prepared. And she was like, are you upset? Am I in trouble? And so I had to pause. And I was like, sweet. I'm like, no. I was like, Auntie is not angry. I am focused. Right. There are just some things that I'm focused on right now trying to get done. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. And I apologize if you think that I'm upset with you, but I'm not. I was just like, this is Auntie's focus face. Yep. Probably like, I can't tell the difference between your angry face and your focus face, but whatever. And so it was like, oh, because she's here again, thinking that I'm upset with her. I'm just trying to get all this stuff together because I only want to go to the Social Security office one time. I'm not trying to go back and wait, and so it's again those moments as a parent where you just have to pause and think, right? Like put yourself, if you can, in that child's shoes and think about, they don't know, right? All the context of what's going on in my brain. She doesn't even know my schedule. All she knows is I'm dropping her off at school. She doesn't know what I do for the rest of the day until I come back and pick her up. And so it was just like, oh, okay. So having those moments of just pausing and saying, hey, this is what's going on with me. And it's not you. And, giving her a hug and let her know you're good. Just sit right here. Let me get all this stuff together. And then we'll be ready to go. So it's a lot. But I also almost in some ways had to start treating her like I treat Toby, like my spouse, right? Like being able to communicate with both of them, like I'm in a space, I'm in my feelings, or I'm sad or whatever, that it's not you. Because we can easily, right, just start to feel like it's me, or I did something wrong, or you're upset. And I'm like, no. But Toby is at a place in his life of maturity where he knows the questions to ask and he knows the signs, because we've been married forever, where she doesn't. And so it's like, okay, this is where we are. This has nothing to do with you. It's okay. Calm down, let me get this done, and then we'll be back, on schedule.
Yes. See, and look, like for me, I feel like these type of conversations, we can have them with our parents, yes, fair, fine. But when you actually have them with a woman where there is no relation besides God has placed this woman in your life, and you connect on like a very personal level. So there's no family history, there's no trauma, there's no, you made me feel this way years ago and I'm still healing from that. Like it's literally just like a very clean slate, and you're able to paint like wild on it and have conversations about what's on the canvas. Like, I feel like that is just a gift. And it really, for me, sometimes I hear the conversations like, oh, the youth, they too wild. We don't have anything in common. Them kids is crazy. Them millennials, like the word millennial is somewhat of a cuss word.
For real. I didn't realize how bad it was. I was listening to a podcast this morning. I was like, really? It's that bad?
And as like a fellow millennial, I just be feeling like, I don't want my generation, the term, or I don't know, the title of my generation to be a cuss word, because every time I hear it, it's like something negative is associated when it's coming from certain age groups.
Yep.
And so I do understand, like sometimes there's conversations where I'll hear young ladies say, well, they're just too judgmental. I just can't connect with certain ages because they don't get it. They're always judging us. They think that we're lazy, disengaged, don't want to work for anything, not committed. Like, it's just this whole list.
It's a list, yeah.
It's a whole list. And I get where they're coming from, because it's not true. Like, you do hear
there are those of the generation who fit that. Well,
okay.
but I would dare say there are those in every generation that fit that description.
Ooh, yes.
I do. You know, it's a funny story. So I'm Gen X. It's so funny because when I hear millennials, I think way younger than the actual millennials. And I look at my friend circle and I'm like, oh yeah, you are a millennial, right? So it's like,
It's
okay,
weird.
my whole sense of who is what is off. But I remember I was working on my doctorate and I was probably, if not the youngest, I was one of the youngest people in the program at that time. And in this class, and it was a virtual class, so they didn't know who they were talking to, right? Because in parts of our assignment, it's just a bunch of, in essence, names on screens, and you're just posting stuff and you're making comments, you're having conversations, but there isn't a lot of this until, we got in person. And so one guy just went off. It's very similar to how the millennials are feeling. He was, oh my gosh, I don't even know why. I don't know why, but whatever, it was something, and he just went off on Gen X.
Triggered.
And just about everything you just said, the people say about millennials, he said about Gen X. He ran us through. And so me and one other girl were both Gen X. And we were just like, oh, tell us how you really feel. So when we met in person, and he realized that, oh, wait, some of y'all are on the younger side. And I forget how it came. I don't know if we brought it up or he apologized. He realized, but it was just one of those things, right? Because to your point, yes, there are, because he admitted, he was like, really, I was having a moment that day. My kids are Gen X and they were acting out. So they were fitting how he was feeling. Yep. But then you look at your classmates who are also working on their doctorates, and it's like, oh, right. And so I think it's those moments. I think we as our age, getting older is a gift. Thank you, Lord.
And it looked good on you.
Thank you. But as you age and you start to, because Toby and I have those conversations about generations, right? You start to look around your family and you're like, crap, we are becoming that generation where like our parents are, because for me, all of my grandparents are deceased. Toby has one grandmother that's still alive. And yeah. And then even his mom's generation, they've started dying. And so you start to look at us and it's like, crap, the things that we look to our parents for pretty soon, if not already, they're going to be looking at us. And so he'll have these conversations and he'll be like, well, I think you might be the matriarch. And I'm like, I don't want that role. And I'm like, so it's just, so I think that as we shift, I think it's important that as we grow old with grace, that we remember that we all need each other, right? Yes. Like the older generations need the younger generations to explain things or to give over. Sometimes it's not even explain it. There's always some new stuff that y'all know that we just like, what, like just the talk, somebody say TikTok wrong and we like, now I'm part of that generation, kind of. I had my moments. I'm like, oh, Lord, I act like a old lady.
Me too, though.
But I think there's going to always be those different advancements. And so to have that younger generation who has their pulse on it, to be able to really remind the older generation of what it was like. But then you also, and I was listening to, and I'll send you the link. Sarah Jakes Roberts was doing a podcast interview. Yes. And oh my gosh, I cannot remember the woman's name. It's Dr. Somebody. And they were talking about part of their discussion. It wasn't fully, but part of their discussion was just generational. And one thing that she said was, we as the older generation, and I would definitely even say for like my parents, your parents. So I'm like, I don't want your mama fall, but she part of the crew. So is that there were a lot of things that they went through and they dealt with to afford us the opportunities that we now have, right? And there is that level of, some of us have attitudes and chips on our shoulders, whatever, but there also is this level of, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made, right? Like there is that level of, I went through all this crap, so you didn't have to. That's not to say that you won't make mistakes or you won't have to go through crap, but how about you go through some new crap at a different level, right? To pave the way for the generation following you. And I think sometimes that isn't always translated well. And sometimes the younger generation doesn't understand that there is that sometimes it doesn't come across well, and I get it because I've been there, I've dealt with it, and I remember being young and having a whole attitude and a chip on my shoulder, and so I think that it's important that the generations find a way to work together, because when you look at the number of generations that are still alive today,
oh my gosh,
and the amazing power that could happen if all these generations were to come together, and just share, it blows my mind. Part of me has to fight hard not to take it for granted that I literally have access where I can literally sit at the feet of someone that was born in 1921. Like, that is mind blowing, even to this day. Like, my granny was born in 1920, but she's been gone for almost 10 years. And Toby's grandmother is like in her right mind. Like, you can still have conversation. She's still aware. She's lucid. The things that she can tell us, and we sometimes don't take advantage until it's too late. They're gone, right? It's after the funeral and everybody like, we wish we should have, could have, would have. And it's like, no, you have these amazing, rich opportunities to literally sit at someone's feet and ask those questions and to be open and to learn. And it's not so much around ego, around I know this or you know that, but it's really, there's such a wealth of knowledge, such a wealth of experience. Our parents have probably gone through things and done things and experienced things that we have no idea. And we treat them like we treat them because like that's just my mama.
Right. Yeah. No, seriously.
Mama, what you talking about?
What you mean?
Like, Lyra treats me. She just like, I don't know what she's talking about.
Right. And I'm over here like, Dr. Nadia.
Right. She just like, Doctor who? Whatever. Because I live with her. She's like, whatever. So I think that, being able to put forth the effort and to really have respect, because all the generations deserve respect, whether or not we agree, right? There are things that people will do or say, and they you may not agree, but I think that respect is due. And I think a lot of times we put our egos aside, and like you said, all our feelings aside. There's so much that we can all learn from each other.
Oh my gosh. And I think this is perfect transition, because I heard you say something where I'm like, I need to dig in. So you said that it's not often translated well, but oftentimes people from a seasoned generation don't want those younger, wet behind the ear generations to make the same mistakes that they once made. So like, what would be a mistake that you made that you would want a younger lady to avoid or to be able to circumvent, if you could just give her one thing to be mindful of?
Only one? I have so many.
Oh, wait, give us we got time.
This is one. So the first one that popped in my head is definitely, and it's probably one because it's top of mind for even Lyric, is that she has options. So when I was coming up, it was drilled in my head, they figured out I was pretty smart as a young kid. And so for me, I was groomed with one option. I knew at an early age I was going to college. I made a promise to my grandmother at 17 that I would become a doctor, right? Like, those were things, that happened a lot. And I don't regret it. That's not what I'm saying. But I also, having made the decision when I left corporate to start my own business, I often say I spent the first several years unlearning, because what I was taught in school was preparing me to be an employee. It wasn't preparing me to be the employer, right? And so one thing I would say for younger generations is that you have options, and neither is wrong. Like, if you want to work. Like, there is nothing wrong with having a steady paycheck. It comes every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, however you get paid, honey, the coins are coming through. Like, I am that. And to have the option to know that if you don't want to work for someone else, if you don't want to go to college and have a lot of debt, because that's a potential, right? If it just is in the cards. If you don't want to do that, that's okay too. And I know that's hard coming from somebody like, wait a minute, doctor, I get it. And college isn't for everyone. And so I think that that's important to understand and respect people's options, and I get why my family is a big deal. based on the generations before me, because for my grandparents, that wasn't an option. So that, have access to someone like their granddaughter, where you have the option to go all the way, honey, go all the way, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just want my daughter to understand you now have these other options, right? And they're before you. And one of the things that we're looking at is even taking her out of the country, because really to have more options. So that's one. Another thing that I would add is, and I think you guys do a better job than we did. I think Gen X, we're learning. Still works in progress, many of us. It's just the importance of rest and self-care, and the whole myth of the strong Black, independent Black woman.
Like, I'm over it.
Support. But the support doesn't mean you need a man. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want anyone to say Nadia said that's not what I'm saying. Now, if you find a good one, hold on to him. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
But you need support, however that looks for you. And I think it's important for us to not feel like we always have to do everything by ourselves. And so I can see, looking back, where there was so many times when life would have been so much easier had I leaned on or reached out to, ask the question, ask for help. But I was so I'm a strong, independent Black woman. I got it. Honey, thank God I didn't send myself to an early grave. You know what I mean? So really just asking for help, building in self-care, taking the time, saying no without explanation. Like, I really hope that the younger generations grab hold to that, because there's no reason to send yourself to an early grave. Because I can tell you, these people that's still living once you're gone, they're not even guaranteed they're going to shed a tear over you. Okay. And they're going to keep on, right? And so it's just important that I want the younger generation to really embrace that.
See, I love that. I love that for so many reasons, especially the I have or you have options. Like that part right there, because we are so indoctrinated, even the way that our educational systems are created, is that options is not really real. Like, we are told that this is after elementary, then you go to middle. After middle, you go to high school. After high school, it used to be, you part ways and you do what you want to do in life or what makes most sense. But now it's you go to college. And then even I know as times and the what is it, like the job market, it's like a master's is almost equivalent to a bachelor's at this point.
At this point,
it's still crazy. Very much so entry level, which is mind blowing. And so again, that's like, you don't have an option to get education or not. You have to go further. You should consider graduate school. And then it's just like everything is laid out to the point where you don't think that you have options.
Right.
And when you don't have anyone who is sending you a message that is outside of the norm, then you feel, number one, required to go that route. But if your heart is telling you something different, you almost start to feel like you're having what are they called? A crisis, like an internal crisis, because you're like, why am I so different? Or why do I feel like I'm failing because I don't want to go along these intervals and meet these benchmarks that we're supposed to meet. And so when you actually have someone who's not just your age, because I know for me, like, I'm sorry, but there are very few people in my life who are my age, unless like I vetted you and you my person for real. Like, but if not, these TikTokers, I'm not going to listen to them and take what they say as fact, or I'm not going to take what they say and really have it live within me and become a part of my belief system. But when I have someone who has been there, done that, and they're doing just fine, and I'm not even talking about financially fine, but I'm talking about like their spiritual wealth is there, their mental wealth is there, their well-being is there. And they're telling me, when you take the option that you want to take, I promise you're going to come out okay. That just reads and feels so different.
Yes.
And So it's just, I love to even hear that, because sometimes I forget to tell myself that I have those options. And even when I start exploring options, I get so committed to the option that I've decided to explore that I almost pigeonhole myself again.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes, I would add to that. It's okay to change your mind.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's okay. It's okay to change your mind. As you grow, and you see it even in business, we've had those conversations. Things shift, they morph. You grow, you shift. You're not the same person you were even last year, right? And that's okay. And I think that sometimes we're like, I made a decision, I got to stick to it, come hell or high water. And it's like, honey, hell and high water is coming fast. You need to let that go, know when to cut your losses. So I think that it is, and of course there's a fine balance between, it's hard, right? We can do hard things and you just got to push through versus, okay, this is just not well for my well-being, or it's not even quitting, it's just putting it on pause. Like sometimes we just need to push the pause button. It's just a lot of things going on. And that's okay. I remember when I put my doctoral degree on pause. I was working and, I had a full-time job. I was in school full-time, doing all these things, writing dissertation, blah, blah, blah. God help me. And then we moved across the country, got married, had to find a place to live. There was just too much. It was too much. And so I did pause. And I remember so clearly, my mom called me one day. I don't think we had really even talked about this. And she was like, I'm gonna need you to get back in school and go and finish this, which was so, Ayanna, I was so ridiculously close to finish that, she was right. And so it was that thing of, yes, there were a lot of things going on, but at that point I was married, we had shelter, I was good. It was like, go ahead, finish writing this dissertation, because I was ABD. I was so close. Even had my research done. Like I was so close to being done fully. I just needed to finish. And so yeah, I got that call. So again, I think it's okay to put it on pause. Like I don't know that I would have been able to push through with everything that life was throwing at me. And I think sometimes we just try to juggle it all, or we don't, again, we don't get the support. I remember the first time, this is a really funny story, especially coming from a woman that was raised in the South. I hired a housekeeper. I was just like, I remember being out with some friends and I was like, wait, what? And to my lack of knowledge, honey, because these were some of my Black friends, and I was like, Black people do that? Because,
right.
Really taboo. You don't let no other woman come on, like it's a whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I was like, I can't. I got too much on my plate. This woman's rates are so stinging reasonable. Come on in. And the first time she came to clean my house, in the back of my mind, I couldn't even relax because I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Like I should, there was so much shoulda, coulda, shoulda, and in my brain. And clearly I've gotten over it. My mother has now since met our housekeeper because she, once we got through the cooties and we all felt safe, and she was like, oh, can I? I was like, please, because I had way too much going on. And I was like, this is a part of my life. And I think that, again, there are things that we pick up, like you said, when we're growing up and the way we're raised, and help looks like help in a lot of different forms, right? And so I think that we should be open to it and accept it, and just know that you're not being lazy by asking for help. You are actually freeing yourself up to really be the best you in those things that only you can do, right? There are only certain things I can do as a wife, as a mom, as a business owner, but there are other things that other people can do that can support you, and getting those things done. Yeah.
Ooh, I love that so much, because I feel like that even takes self-awareness to decide, okay, these are the things that I know no one else, hypothetically, but very true, no one else can step in and do the way that I do, care the way that I care, execute the way I execute, strategize the way I strategize, love the way I love. But there are these other things
Right.
that I can tag someone else in, and they will actually might even step up and do a much better job than I could have imagined on a good day.
Right. And do them a lot of times faster. And I'm not
Yes.
using, I think about like cooking. So we don't use our chef all the time. We're not there yet. But there are seasons, like I look at my schedule and I'm like, okay, I have a week coming up where I'm in intense, either I'm traveling or I just have a lot going on that week. And so we look ahead at the schedule and I'll reach out and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna need you to cook this week, because me trying to do all these things in work and still have some semblance of at least being present for bath time or bedtime. If I'm home, if I'm not home, then obviously I can't do that. But even I'll do it, especially, I started doing it when I would travel. So Toby wouldn't have to deal with it, right? So he can only they'll eat. The most you might have to do is put food in the microwave, right? That way you can do all the other things you have to do as a single parent in that moment because your partner isn't there. But even then, I was like, why am I not doing that when I'm home? Because I would have these big projects, this intense timeline, and also trying to run in the kitchen, stir the pot. Girl, one time burning up stuff because I hit the wrong button and ran back in my girl. It's just no.
It's real.
Pay somebody else to do it. Let them do it. That way the family is fed. That whole responsibility on my mental load is off, because including myself, can have nutritious, healthy food.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I do come out this office, I can go straight into wife mode, mommy mode, bath time, bedtime, hugs, kisses. I don't have to worry about that. And so I think that that's how we have to start looking at it versus, I'm doing something that's not quite right, because we're only one person.
Oh,
and there's a lot that women have on them and their mental load and the things that they're thinking about and managing, even when you can't even imagine that's going on in their minds.
mm-hmm.
And so, I just recently told my husband, I was like, often I'm not upset, I'm overstimulated. There's just so many things going on in my brain that I'm agitated, but it's not because I'm angry. It's just too much. And I've just reached down my mental load and I need to go sit down.
Seriously, because even when you're taking this opportunity to be present, and it's even hard for me to use the word present and feel comfortable using it, because I will literally be doing my best to watch a show with my family or to carve out time, but there's this little thing right back here where this curl is.
Yep.
And it's reminding me of what I needed to work on or what I didn't fully complete, or I told this person in an email that I wanted to have it done,
or did you remember?
Yes.
Yes.
It's as much as I try to be present, there is always something that's ruminating.
Yep.
And so I'm curious, when you're having these conversations about bringing in a chef or having someone cook, did you explain to the loved ones in your home, the reason why I'm bringing this in is because this is a load for me, and it's taking a responsibility off of my plate so that I'm able to feel alleviated and to be more present and to be more effective? Or did you bring them in and it was more so oh, this is a convenience for the family? Sometimes I feel like I don't take enough opportunities to really explain what I'm actually going through to my friends and family. And it just looks like I'm making decisions. But in reality, these are life decisions for my well-being. And I don't think that I ever detail really why I'm making certain decisions for preservation purposes.
Yeah, I know Toby and I have had those conversations. I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say that it really became prevalent where we started using her services when we brought my mother here to recuperate after her stroke. And I made that call because I was already overwhelmed when I was in Florida. I made that call before we even left Florida. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, this is what's going on. My mom has a dietary restriction list a mile long, and it needs to taste good, but it needs to be healthy. And I just sent her all of that. And I told her, because at first she would ask, and I was like, no. This is what I need from you. I need you to take this. I need you to prepare whatever it is you feel the need to prepare for however many days I tell you. and just tell me how much money to send you. I cannot make those decisions anymore because I already have way too much on my plate. And so I think Toby, I don't remember. We probably did because there was just so many decisions we were making, and he could see, the stress.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And those are simple things. Like I said, we don't use her every week, but when those weeks when life is going to be super crazy, I'm like, girl, I need you to come in and make this happen. So yeah.
Yes. Ooh, and this is why I love Tuesdays.
So yeah, I gotta
You gotta jump.
meeting. Hold on.
Okay.
That's there.
And we can definitely wrap.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I'm not gonna absorb you too much because I know you literally
continue, girl.
Yes, to be continued, but just thank you so much you are literally the inspiration for this topic, because I'm like, the amount of appreciation that I have for you and the place that you feel in my life, I'm just like, we have to talk about cross-generational relationships because who can function without them?
Right, exactly. Yes. I agree.
Yes. So thank you so much for being on the inaugural episode of Sexy Conversations.
Yay, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay. Well, have an amazing day. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye. Bye.